Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, what did you think of The Square? You know, I've done a lot of Q&As here at SAG-AFTRA Foundation, but when I asked me to do this one, I was so excited because this is the kind of movie where you go, I have to talk to somebody about this movie. So who better to discuss this film with one of the stars who's here with us today. Now, keep in mind, The Square was the top prize winner, the Palme d'Or, at the Cannes Film Festival back in May in 2017, and it is Sweden's official entry for the Academy Awards for Best Foreign Film. Please welcome Claes Bang.
Hello.
So, well, okay, I guess the first question is when, over the last 5-6 months now, since the movie first screened, what are some of the more far out reactions you've gotten from people who've come up to you and wanted to talk to you about The Square?
Well, it seems that this is a very rich film in that sense, so people tend to talk about all kinds of shit in this film. Well, as we just, I mean, the weirdest thing, I actually think there was a question in Cannes that I thought was really, really weird, and there was a journalist there, and she asked me that she thought that Christian came across as really, really empty. And I was like, and how I sort of got to that point where he was so empty. And I was like, fuck, I've no idea how I got to that point. If that's because I wouldn't know if a director came up to me and said, "Can you please just play the character empty?" I would have no idea what to do, because you always do something. You're always this or that. I mean, you're never nothing, right? So that sort of was quite. And I was quite insulted, to be honest, as well, because I was like, fuck you, he's not empty, he's a quite decent guy, he's just got, I mean, probably a twisted idea here or there, but I mean, it's not like he's a terrible, I don't think he's empty in any way.
He's human.
Well, I mean, I've done my fair share of fuck-ups, and so does he. I mean, and I, every time he does something really weird, it's like he's like under a lot of pressure, with a lot of, I mean, and I can understand that he gets really, really mad. I think he thinks he stands up to a woman in the street and tries to help her, and he's feeling super good about himself. And then all of a sudden, oh, it was just, and he's been tricked, and he just wants to get back at these people. And then he comes up with that stupid note, and that's probably where I would have stopped.
Yeah.
Yes, writing it, but not distributing it, I think, yeah.
Well, in a film like this, like, which came first for you, the chance to read the screenplay or the chance to do your screen test?
Ruben is a bit weird in that sense, because what he asked me to do for the first casting was to write and prepare that speech that I give in the museum, that where I sort of talk about the art installation. And I wrote that, and I went to the casting, and then he sat me down for something like 2 hours and talked me through the whole film, and then we did improvs of 5 or 6 different scenes, and then he was just about to send me on my way. And I said, well, I've actually written this speech. Would you like to hear it? Yeah, sure, he said. And afterwards, he said several times that the point where he sort of really sort of felt there was something there with me was the point where I say in that speech, my father just died. Can you talk to me for half an hour? I've got no one to talk to. And he thought that sort of combined the sort of ideal content of The Square to a sort of very emotional, real thing. And I think he asked all the actors to write that speech to sort of see at which level we could sort of relate to this art installation. And then I was called back for another casting and another. And I think they were all something like 3 hours long. It was like really weird. And for the second casting, he asked me if I wanted to read the script. And I said, well, I actually enjoyed the way we worked the last time. So if it's all right with you, I actually think it's fine that I don't. Because sometimes I find myself with a script in my hand, I get a little bit too result orientated. I just want to fix the scene. or I just want to, you know, make it work from here till there, instead of just investigating or just being there. And I felt that without reading the script, I would probably be able to do that better. So I said no thanks, and we agreed that I didn't do that. And then after the third casting, he and I knew it was quite close, and I fucking just wanted this part because I was really into it. And then the casting director told me, okay, now we're down to 2 people now, and now Ruben is going to go to London to cast a very huge star. And I was like, okay, fuck, I'm not going to get it. But somehow, I don't know why, just got lucky.
Well, bravo, because your performance is magnificent. Now, how much of the screenplay is what we saw, the screenplay that you read, that you first read, is what we saw on the screen? For example, like how did it evolve from what you first read?
Well, I think when I got the part, then and what I read and what we see here is very, very close. Because he does a lot of improvs on the day as well to sort of get the scene authentic, organic, right. But you almost always end up with the same structure that he's written because it's brilliantly written. So even if you go out the long way, you sort of come back the short one, right? So, I mean, there are here and there improvisations that sort of, all of a sudden we came up with something that was brilliant and we kept it, or someone had an idea or something. But, I mean, it's actually quite close to the script. And also the order of the scenes has, I mean, I think he actually experimented a little bit with changing the order of them, and then he sort of came back to the structure that it was in the script. So it's actually very, very close to what he'd written. Yeah.
But also to make a film like this, it's like an actor's dream, as it already is. But to have the chance to really work with your filmmaker, work with the director and the screenwriter director, and to improvise and sort of like try things out, that just takes us to a whole. I mean, that's really what every actor would dream of.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got to drive the limo of acting with this one. I mean, we shot this over 78 days. I was there for 76. He does a full run through of the scene every time, which is like from 5 till 12 minutes or longer, and he does probably something between 40 and 70 takes of that. So you get to work your shit hard, and if you enjoy your work, I mean, it's like very fulfilling because you get to investigate, you get to explore this scene in every fucking direction. And can we try and do this? Okay, let's leave it that. Let's go this way. Let's do this. And I mean, after something like 15 or 20 takes, you sort of you really know. Okay, now we're going to do it like this, and then you start working it and. Well, I really loved it. I spoke with Dominic West, and he was like, was that really necessary? I actually thought I nailed it like the second or the third. Which he probably did. But I actually enjoyed it. It wasn't torture in any way. You can actually say that you got the chance to get it right, you know. But you know, to be allowed that time and space on set is like such a luxury. I'm dead sure you'll all agree. I mean, I'm dead sure we've all been on things that if you can do with one take and then we move on, everybody's like perfectly happy because then we're saving money and time. And to do exactly the opposite is like, it was just I can't see anything in the future. Even if I get real lucky, I can't see anything as amazing as this one.
You know, certain films, you're filming it, you know exactly what it is. Like, I'm sure when they made Daddy's Home 2 or Bad Moms Christmas, they knew what it was. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But a film like this, did you ever, like, pull Ruben aside and be like, hey, man, like, what's going on here?
No, well, I actually, what Ruben is all about, Ruben never talks about character, he never talks about psychology, background, childhood, anything. He only ever talks about being there in the situation, relating to what's going on right now, and just really getting into that and sort of stop producing, stop acting, just being there. And that's what all these very long and many takes are all about. And I just knew that this is the way he works, and I decided from the word go that I'm just going to trust him. Because in that sense, I suppose my experience is I really can't play an idea or a theme or something. You can just be there, and then you can sort of, when you've got all these scenes and we've recorded everything and you fit every little bit one after another, you sort of get all the themes and the paradox of the character and everything. But in order to do that, I just felt, okay, I can just do one thing here. I mean, he knows what he's doing. I could see that in his previous films. So I just fucking trusted him. And I just went with it, and I was like, okay. And obviously we argued and we fought, and there was days where I could have killed him. And there were so many days when I went home and I was like, did we get today what we wanted? I'm not sure, even if we did 100 takes. But so obviously you still, there's the same doubt and everything, but that's his way of working, and I just thought it was super fulfilling, yeah.
So how did your interpretation of the film itself change from when you were making it to the time that you actually got to see it, watch it, and absorb it from that perspective?
Well, I would say that...
did you feel as uncomfortable as we did watching this
Yeah,
movie?
my God, yeah. It was me up there. No, I can't watch that. Yeah, well, that very sort of uncomfortable feeling in the film is like quite palpable, and even if you've done it, and when you sit there and watch it, I think you feel the same. I did, and I still do when I watch it. I don't think it actually. I actually had sort of. I wouldn't say that I was surprised by any of the scenes, but I think actually was a bit surprised about the dramaturgy of it and that sort of what you can actually get away with. You know, when I was in theatre school, there was a teacher. This is a super great story, I think. There was a teacher, and I was in this play, and I was really confused. I said to him, I can't make this character work. I can't fit the bits and pieces together. I don't understand it. And he was like, okay, how many scenes have you got? And I said, I've got 8. And he said, okay, you just go in and you play every scene like a different guy. And I was like, fuck, what do you mean? And the audience will fit it all together in their heads. And this is a perfect example of this, because, I mean, Christian is like quite a paradox. I mean, then he goes and he says this, and the next scene you see him do something quite different, but you totally buy it. I mean, it's not like you're sitting there thinking, well, you just we can. That's in our real lives. We do things that, and I said something to you just out there, and now I might say something quite different. Or, oh, no, I hope not. But do you know what I mean? It's like we are quite a paradox, all of us, and we have perhaps these high ideas, and so that, I mean, it doesn't always fit together, and you know, that's sort of liberty, or I mean, to sort of just work it like that, and not really sort of thinking, okay, how am I going to go from that thing in that scene till that? I mean, if you leave it to the audience to sort of, okay, what? That's really weird. He was just like that, and now he's like this, and you just sort of, because you want to understand it, right? So you make the switch yourself. You sort of fit it together, and I thought that was probably the best advice I ever got, and I could really use it in this film. So yeah,
there are quite a few scenes that really stuck out for me watching this movie, but I think one of them, I mean, you know which ones I'm talking about, but one of them that really just sort of just made me go like, what is going on here, was the scene with Elisabeth Moss. And not just what happened after the sex scene, but the way the sex scene was shot. So let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that, yeah. Yeah, let's do that. Well, as we probably can all agree, that's the worst sex we ever saw in our lives. It's just terrible. They're working so hard, aren't they? Real sweaty, and no one's really enjoying themselves or anything. It's terrible. And, you know, when I did my thing, I was lying down and the cameraman was on top of me, jumping up and down. And when she did her thing, she was sitting on top of him, jumping up and down. And so I could have been in another country, hurtful. I mean, and I don't know if you realize this, but the weird thing about that sex scene and the thing that makes it so terrible is that while we're actually added, we're looking straight into the camera, which is something you never get in a sex scene because it's all, you know, cuddly and everything. You only get that in porn, if you think about it, and if you want to think about it. That's the only time where the actors actually make contact with the audience during sex. So that was weird. That's one thing that was weird. Okay, then the next thing that was weird was fighting over the condom. As you can probably imagine, that took quite a while to shoot because we were laughing our asses off. And Ruben, he wanted every possible way of editing it. So he was like, we did probably 20 takes of me winning the condom, 20 takes of her winning the condom, 20 takes of condom breaking, content on the wall. And at the end, he was like, okay, now, Claes, you've got just one choice, one option, and that's to eat the condom. So I ate it. And we played the whole scene with the condom hanging out of my mouth and her trying to get it out. But I think he thought that was probably a bit too much to fit into the film. So, yeah, that was good fun, really, yeah. And, you know, and the whole thing plays out with the monkey just next door. And it's like... We actually, this is very funny too, we actually did a total with me on top of her. And the monkey coming, I mean, I'm on the bed and the monkey's out there, walking around, sitting in the couch over there. We close the door, then the monkey comes back and is watching us at it. We did a sort of a POV from the door with the monkey watching her doing that thing with that man, but I think Ruben thought that was too heavy for the film as well, so that ended up on the editing room floor. Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you, this is gonna make some DVD extra.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh man, let's watch food.
Yeah.
No, let's watch the extras. But I just love how Elisabeth, when you meet, like when your characters meet, you know, she's a professional, and then you're at the party, and it's okay. You're letting your guard down a little bit. You're like, okay, it's gonna be a nice night tonight. And then after the scene, just she's a little off, and like it never occurred to me that it only occurred to me that she just wanted the condom because she just wanted to get pregnant, but I understand that there were other interesting reactions too.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we actually thought about me saying, well, you can't get the condom because I'm dead scared that you're going to go and impregnate yourself, and I've already got 2 kids. But then we would sort of give away the surprise that all of a sudden these 2 kids come running through the door. So we couldn't do that. And actually, you know, to not be able to sort of say why is actually adding to the situation of awkwardness. And there was also one reaction, I mean, because there are so many different interpretations of what's going on in this film, and one was actually quite interesting. One woman said to me, he's not going to give up the condom because it's empty. And he doesn't want to reveal that he didn't come. And I never thought about that, but that's actually totally plausible. That could, I mean... I think when you actually look at it, you can actually see there's something in there. But she thought that was the reason, and that was just a very interesting take on it. Yeah.
Well, that's a hell of a conversation you want to have somebody. You know, the other scene that, and this is a scene that just kept going and unraveling and making you go through so many emotions. This is the gala dinner scene with Terry Notary. And it starts off funny, but he doesn't break character, and then it becomes awkwardly funny, and then it becomes like, okay, you know, let's just ignore him and maybe he'll go away. But when he goes to Dominic and he invades his personal space, touches him, you're like, okay, this guy's not going away. And you're just like, okay, where is the scene going to go? First of all, how long did it take to film that scene?
It took like 3 days to shoot that scene. rehearsed it for one day and then spent 3 days shooting it. And the fun thing about that scene is actually that the people that are the extras in that scene, at least half of them are from the art world in Sweden. I mean, those are people with a face to lose in the art world. So they were, I mean, Ruben, I've no idea how he got them to sit there for 3 days and do absolutely nothing and just be dead scared of this man that would come up to them. But we shot it over 3 days. For the first 3 takes or something, I think we did like we did a full run through of the scene every time, which is like probably 12 minutes, and we did 25 a day or something. And for the first one, Ruben said practically nothing to anyone. Obviously, those people that had read the script sort of knew what was going to happen, but he said nothing to anyone else. So it's just like the lights went down and that speak comes on, welcome to the jungle, a wild animal is going to come into the room, blah, blah, blah. And then he comes into the room and everybody's like, people are laughing and then that terror starts to spread in the room because everybody's like, is he going to come over here? No, fuck, he's coming over here. I'm going to get out now. And nobody, and still, because they were, I mean, everybody was sort of, oh, I'm just going to try and pretend I think it's good fun. And nobody really knew what was going to happen. And it just got worse and worse and worse in what he did. So there was that, and I think that was super cool that Ruben did that, because we were sort of able to sort of tap into that during those 3 days, that we had this experience in our bodies that, fuck, this is not very pleasant. He's like an asshole, this guy that comes in, and he'll just fuck with us. So I thought that sort of is why it is working so well, that you can actually sense that sort of uneasiness in the room. And I think that's what Ruben really does so well, because you sort of, I mean, for some reason you're at the table when you watch it. You totally feel, oh fuck, this is not very nice. It's terrible. And I've no idea how he actually does it. I think it's the same thing with his previous film, if you saw that one, The Force Majeure, where you sort of, I mean, as a male, I couldn't stop asking myself the question, would I have done the same thing as a father in the family that ran away when the avalanche came and didn't save his family? And here it's like, I mean, it's like, he almost in every scene sort of engages you in a way where you sort of think, oh, this is not, what would I have done here?
That scene in particular, the gala dinner scene, everybody's wearing their tux. What was it like watching that scene at the premiere, the black tie premiere at Cannes?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that Ruben was, I mean, when he told me when he first thought of this scene, that was where he couldn't stop laughing, because he was like, I'm going to take this fucking film to Cannes and I'm going to sit with an audience, and that cinema fits 2,200 people into it. I'm going to sit with all these people dressed up exactly like those people up there and watch it with them. And that he had good fun about that. That was actually quite weird. There were two things that Ruben would say every day on set. He would sit in front of the monitor, watch what we were doing, and he would say, this looks exactly right. This looks just like Cannes. And I was like, will you stop fucking jinxing it? I mean, can we just work here, please? And the other thing that he would say every day was, nobody's going to leave the set today with any kind of dignity. I mean, that's what he's like all about, you know, stripping you down to the bone, yeah.
Wow, this is what an experience. But it's interesting to point out that you are the first Danish actor to be featured in a lead performance in a film that won the top prize at Cannes. So congratulations, that's awesome. What made you become an actor? Like, what was like the epiphany that you had?
That was your high school musical thing. I mean, I was in high school and everybody comes together for this. I mean, somebody does the costumes and somebody does the lights and somebody's... and I was in a band at that moment. It was a musical. It was like sort of Hair rewritten or something. I can't really remember. And someone said, I mean, you sing in that band. Can't you do this part? And I was like, no, I'm not an actor, I can't do that. And then they sort of convinced me to do it, and I did it, and I loved it. So, yeah. And so I just went on to do the next thing and the next thing. And then at one point, I decided, okay, if I'm really going to be serious about this, I'm going to try and go into the National Theatre School in Denmark. And that is like, it works a bit different than over here, because it's paid for by the government, and you actually get money when you go there. And you go there. Yeah, I know it sounds insane.
Let's go.
I've had this conversation with actors over here before. It's paid for by the government. You get paid when you go there, because you go there 12 hours a day and you can't work at the same time. And you go there for 4 years, and they take 8 a year. So it's like, and I was like, fuck, how am I ever going to get into that? And then you were just allowed to be 25 when you applied to go there. So, and I was 23, so I thought, okay, I have to do this, otherwise I'll sit there when I'm 60 and regret it. And so I tried for the first time, and it's sort of a 3-step thing where you go to one test and another and another. And I got to the last one the first year, but didn't get in. But I sort of thought, okay, all right, I'm going to try one more time. And then I tried one more time, and then I, goddamn it, got in. And that's sort of how it, and then I went there for 4 years, and then I came out, and the whole shit started all over. Yeah.
Well, when push comes to shove, you're on a deserted island. You have one movie. What is your favorite movie of all time?
Mine. My favorite movie of all time, Inland Empire, Lynch. Yeah. Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite actors and actresses that you admire the most?
I think Richard Burton is my favorite actor. I'm really crazy about Pacino as well. Not sort of, I mean, perhaps the later work has been sort of a bit dodgy, but don't tell him I said that.
Hashtag truth.
No, I fucking still love him. I actually think, yeah. Oh my God, there are so many. Oh, there was one the other day.
Everyone says Meryl Streep. I mean,
Meryl Streep. Oh yeah, but I'd actually go with Jessica Lange in that department, to be honest. Yeah, and in the female department, I actually think she's amazing. Yeah.
How about directors you'd really like to work with?
Lynch, my God, could he please call me? Yeah.
Lynch,
yeah.
please direct another movie.
Yeah, I think he's not going to do that, is he? He's stopped, hasn't he?
I'll call.
You'll call, thank you. That would be amazing. Or I mean, Haneke, that did one of the films in Cannes this year, and also the one that did you see that German film that was amazing last year but didn't win anything, Tony Erdmann? Oh my God, I would love to work with her too. And she was actually on the jury this year, so she might have sort of, yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned Haneke, Michael Haneke. I think watching The Square, I thought about Haneke. I also thought about Lars von Trier a little, just in the sense the way that you get a reaction every time you watch one of their movies. But what is the best advice you ever got from, a fellow actor, actress, director?
Actually, that thing that I mentioned earlier, go in and do every scene as a different guy, as a different character, and let people fit that thing together in their heads themselves. That guy died yesterday, actually. 81 years old. He was like a totally super cool actor. I actually think that's sort of the thing that that you can actually allow yourself not to sort of try and, I don't know if this is something that anyone else can sort of take or use, but to me it makes total sense. It sort of liberates me from sort of wanting to make things fit together and try and just, I mean, allow yourself to do the transition, but let the transition be something that happens in people's heads instead of you sort of trying to explain it to them.
Last question is, for people watching The Square, what do you think the takeaway is from a movie like this?
What I think?
Yeah.
Well, I've actually had this question sometimes, and I really don't want to answer it in a way. I think this film is like quite rich, and I think you should take away anything you want to. I think it should be, I mean, there are people that have seen it and they just thought, oh, that is super good fun, and I really enjoy that. And then there are people to whom it means something, says something about the world that we live in, and that is sort of comments on how we sort of socialize with each other. And I mean, there are so many, and I think it's actually, I actually think it would be slightly arrogant for me to sit here and say what people should experience. I think, I mean, when you've done the film, it's out there and it's up to people to take it as they want to. It's not up to me to sort of say how you should perceive it or anything.
Thank you so much for enjoying.
Thank you for having me.
Here at SAG-AFTRA Foundation.
Thank you.
Claes Bang, everybody. The movie is The Square. Spread the word. Thanks very much.